Good morning, friends. It's Heather Moxie again, and today's DIY is going to show you how to turn a boring Michaels decorative piece into a custom, vintage looking, and basically a lot more expensive looking item. This is a faux washboard. It is just simple craft wood and piece of metal, and Michaels sells it for, I believe it was $15, but where I found it, I had my half off coupon, so I got it for half off, and it's really great because it comes in plain wood, but in today's DIY, I'm going to be teaching you how to age this puppy and make it look really old and vintagey. You can do some optional, beating it up, make it look even worse for wear. It's really easy, really simple, and honestly, you just have to wait for the paint and the stain to dry, and that's it. So I can't wait for you guys to see how I made this, and let me know what you think. Bye! You're going to need a sanding block, some brushes, a cleanup towel, something tough, and of course some stain. The first thing you're going to want to do is sort of like a DIY rule of thumb when it comes to staining anything. You're going to give your piece just a quick run over with your sanding block. I think I've already mentioned this before. I hate sanding. I absolutely loathe it. So this step is completely optional, and especially with this craft wood, this kind of like cheap wood, it doesn't really matter. I don't really see a difference. I recently did a project without it and I didn't see a difference at all. So it's totally up to you. I do it kind of just in case and out of habit now. But if you do decide to do it, make sure you give a quick wipe down with your rag. And here's where your something sharp comes into play. Normally I use a hammer, but the main idea is that you'll need something tough to pop the lid off of your stain. Now, get used to watching me stain things or use this particular brand of stain or just this color of stain because I'm obsessed with it. So again, rule of thumb, foam brushes work well. To be honest, I've never seen people stain with foam brushes, but that's just what I've always had on hand, so I've always used it, and it always works really well for cleanup. You can use a traditional rag, but you're not going to be able to get in those nooks and crannies like I was here. And there are some corners that you're not going to be able to reach with a foam brush, so that's where your detailing brush is going to come into play. Certain corners and edges, especially near the metal, were really tough to get to, and I didn't want to face cleanup with the stain. I didn't want to have to go back and clean up. I already had to, so I didn't want to make the job harder for me. But this is basically the easy part. You get to paint it on and watch it sink in, and it does basically all the work for you. So get a good coat of that on there and decide if you want to do a second coat, and then we go from there. If you're wondering what I'm painting on as a platform protecting the carpet, this is called a do-it-yourself painting station. Basically, I needed a flat surface to paint this, and use what you got. I happen to have doggy pads and a lot of them, so I just went ahead and laid 2 of those down so that I would protect the carpet and, you just gotta do what you gotta do. Every time that you go in with your detailing brush or your foam brush and you get some on the metal, just go ahead and wipe that off with your cleanup rag before it dries. The main idea is you don't want to waste more time and effort trying to get it off the metal, so just get it while it hasn't dried yet. That way it's not a pain in the butt when you're done with the project. After that front layer of stain has had a little bit of time to dry and sink in, you can go ahead and flip it over and begin work on the back. You're basically going to repeat the entire process that you just did. This one's pretty simple. And don't forget to go in with your cleanup towel and get anything that has gone onto the metal. step is completely optional. I've had this can of whitewash for a very long time. I actually used it for a project I did back in the beginning of the summer, so I wanted to see if I could whitewash this thing, and to be honest, I probably should have done this step first if I was going to do what I was thinking about in my head, but it was too late. So because I don't have the proper tools on hand, I improvised and I grabbed a bar of soap and used this as a replacement for furniture wax or distressing wax. There's kind of different names out there for it, but the idea is that you rub it onto the surface that you're going to be staining or whitewashing, and the waxy part of the soap, ideally that it's actual wax, will stick to only some parts of your piece, and then when you whitewash over it, if you can kind of tell with the brush strokes, your product will only stick to the parts that don't have wax on it. So it kind of ages the piece without really aging it. If you do decide to do this step, just remember that we are aging it. We're creating a faux aged look, so we don't want it to be painted white. We're not trying to paint it white and cover all the beautiful stain that we just did. We just want to get a good layer on there so that when we try to do our next step, it kind of makes sense and it all kind of flows. And here's the kind of silly part. All of that stuff you just painted on, we are going to wipe it off. Now, if you've ever stained anything, you'll know that you can do a similar idea with stain. You just kind of wipe it off before it sets, but this is a whitewash, so we're going to apply the same logic, but we just want to wipe it off so that it doesn't appear to be so white. We want it to look aged. And you'll also notice I didn't bother to do this step to the back because this is going to be hanging on a wall. I don't care about the back. I'm normally not like that, but I wasn't entirely sure that this part was going to work, so I'm very thankful that I like the way it came out, because if I didn't, this was going to be a total fail and I was going to have to try to restain the front. So thankfully this came out exactly the way I wanted. So to finish this off, I just hit it with a little bit of my sanding block again, just to kind of rough it up and get rid of some of the more white parts that were a little bit difficult to rub off. And then I wiped off any remaining dust or stain, just kind of gave it a final once over with my cleanup rag. And here is the finished product hanging up on my wall in my dining room. I don't really know where I'm going on this dining room wall yet, but I kind of want it to be just this hodgepodge of things and just random decorations that I've made or fallen in love with. So let me know what you guys think of this project, and if you decide to do this DIY, go ahead and tweet me at HeatherMoxieDIY, and I'm so excited to see what you guys come up with. Don't forget to check out the description box so you can follow me on all the things and check out anything I have coming up. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!